Kamali, and taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Trump has been impeached. Does it matter? Social media reacted. The new character trying to put a stop to stigma in Japan around periods. A tour of Istanbul's thanks to the city's most famous bus line, the 500T. And getting the right end of the stick in animals doing stuff. Top of our newsfeed, impeachment. Donald J. Trump is now in a very exclusive club. The question now is what effect it will have. Social media seems to point to the fact that if you thought Trump did something wrong, this impeachment has reinforced that. But if you think he's being victimized, well, it's reinforced that too. It's a result of the echo chambers that exist on social media, and this impeachment only appears to have calcified them further. Here's Courtney.
President Donald Trump is the third U.S. president to have been impeached in U.S. history. The last one was 21 years ago. President Bill Clinton, who was also impeached, the two presidents impeached in modern history. But a lot has changed in 21 years, including social media. Now we have the traditional old school media of newspapers with blaring headlines today, Trump impeached. We also have partisan papers like the New York Post with a picture of House Speaker Pelosi saying, "Swamp Mistress Pelosi dresses in black for a historic vote. It's your funeral." But most of the mainstream media stayed with President impeached. But on Twitter, you had the elected officials making their points. You have Donald Trump putting this out last night, a picture of himself, black and white, quite ominous, saying, in reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. Then you had Nancy Pelosi with a picture of herself holding that gavel, which she used to wield when the Democrats seemed to be happy about the vote. She hushed them so they wouldn't applaud, and she said, "No one is above the law, Mr. President," a tweet directed at the President of the United States. You had other people saying, "Happy Impeachment Day." Is it Happy Impeachment or Merry Impeachment? A pun on this idea of political correctness of whether you can say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. You also have another vote yes on impeachment with the peach. A lot of people taking to the social media to express their opinions, like somebody called impeachment boomerang. President Trump is still our president. President Trump is still our president, reiterating that many times. I'm one of the 63 million who still support President Trump. And also do know this is a country that's divided, 63 million, that's out of 330 million, but the vote definitely went down along partisan lines. And President Trump tweeted this morning that he wanted to make it clear that no Republican in the House voted to impeach him. And it's very likely that the Senate trial that's going to start early next year will also fall along partisan lines.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Well, Ryan Kaji has done it again, or rather his parents have. The 8-year-old, who is featured on a YouTube page called Ryan's World, is the site's highest paid content creator for a second year in a row. He's been filmed by his mother and father reviewing toys since he was 3, and 20 million people and growing subscribe to see it happen. He also has a show on the kids' network Nickelodeon. This lucrative child exploitation racket has earned his family $26 million in 2019. A toilet which is uncomfortable to sit on for a long period has been mocked on social media. The Standard Toilets website says it's meant to reduce the amount of time people spend sitting on the loo. Its aim is to make businesses whose employees are slacking off in the bathroom more profitable. The seat is at a 13-degree angle, which apparently people can only sit on for 5 to 7 minutes. The US Department of Agriculture has removed Wakanda from a list of places available to choose from on their website, as it's no longer listed as a free trade partner of the US. Wakanda is a fictional country from the Black Panther movie, of course it is. Until Wednesday, the USDA had the made-up East African nation on the list of places that have a free trade agreement with the US. Now they say it was a mistake while they were testing their systems. Well, drought conditions in South Africa continue to worsen. Significant rain has not been felt in some parts of the country for half a decade. Take a look at this.
This place always used to be green at this time of year. Now it looks like a desert. In South Africa's Eastern Cape, no one can remember when it last rained. Millions had difficulty feeding their families because of poor harvest and their livestock dying. Steve Bothma is a farmer who had to cull 60% of his merino sheep flock.
We're in a survival mode. For how long? I don't know. If we don't get rain now before the winter, we'll have to close the books. People will sit without jobs, no income, starving. It's actually a chain reaction because of this drought.
The money he gets for his merino wool has plunged by around 40% over the year, which is due to the drought and an outbreak of foot and mouth disease. The dams which supplied water for Eastern Cape dried out in November.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says the government needs $8 billion to fund the new infrastructure.
He blames years of poor governance on his predecessor, Jacob Zuma, that has put the country among the 30 driest in the world. Lack of water and poor management exacerbates the situation.
We wake up early because sometimes it's hot. Then we went to go fetch water by the other locations when we haven't got water. I spend sometimes 3 hours or 2 hours when I'm tired.
NGO, the Gift of the Givers, have been delivering water to the droughted areas since April.
Around 15,000 inhabitants have been living without running water for 7 months. People are quite familiar with the long lines they have to stand in to get drinking water.
When we came here, we got a shock. We saw the people opening up taps, no water coming out. Some people telling us this has been for the last 6 months, some for the last 4 months, some for weeks. Because the town has still a little bit of water now, the whole place is shut.
While the government continues to blame the problem on former administrations, these people will continue to wait for it to rain.
Public health officials in Japan have turned to cartoons in an attempt to take the stigma out of women's menstruation, and the lead character has a very apt name.
友達と話したりとか、女性から直接聞くような内容ではなかったんですけども、なんか女性はなんか体の機能としてこういう伴侶を抱えて生きてる。
2人はいつもセックスしてるの？
感動するというか、希望を感じたというかですね。でなんか結構ちょっとうるっとして見ていてですね。だからこういう描き方をされて世の中に広まっていくのはとても望ましいことだなと思うし。
We'll keep spinning around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Thursday.
Closed roadway. So the weekend we're out on the road. I warn you that should you fail to comply with my direction, you may be arrested. Force may be used. Do you understand, Izzy? You need to leave now.
A video of this 10-year-old who lost her home in recent bushfires in Australia being ordered to move away from a demonstration outside Prime Minister Scott Morrison's residence by the police is going very viral. Australian social media has been fuming in recent days as the country is facing the worst fires it's seen in generations, and the Prime Minister is on holiday in Hawaii. The hashtag "Where the bloody hell are ya?" has been trending. Mesut Ozil has been removed from copies of Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 in China. The Arsenal star called out the Chinese government on Twitter for their treatment of the Uyghur Muslims. More than 1 million Uyghurs have been detained in what China calls re-education centres. They're reportedly made to renounce their religion and culture in these facilities. Ozil's comments also led to Arsenal's games being pulled from Chinese TV. And Ilham Tohti has been given the Sakharov Prize by the EU. He is Uyghur and is currently in prison in China for his peaceful awareness raising of the Uyghur plight. His daughter, while accepting the award on her father's behalf, said she doesn't know if he's still alive. She last heard from him in 2017. Instagram has finally brought in some rules. They are banning people who get paid by brands to push products from promoting vaping, tobacco or weapons. The Facebook-owned site said it wants to restrict the kind of things people who like looking at other people doing things can be influenced by. And Facebook has announced they will run a 60-second advert during the Super Bowl next year. It'll feature the comedian Chris Rock and the actor Sylvester Stallone. It's for their new Groups feature, which lets boomers who have similar interests talk to other boomers about stuff that interests boomers. Now, every city has a favourite, maybe an infamous bus line. I'm sure your city has its. And here in Istanbul, that line of legends is the 500T, or 500T. Everyone has a story about it, so we sent our Erva for a ride. Watch this.
Finding love, getting married, even giving birth. A lot can and has happened on the 500T, the most famous bus line in Istanbul. Over 75 kilometers, Istanbulites go from Cevizliba on the European side to Tuzla on the Asian side. Depending on traffic, this journey can take 3 hours. Hassan has been driving the bus for 10 years.
One day, I was driving toward Cevizliba. I noticed a car was following me. He was stopping at the bus stops where I stopped to get passengers. After some time, I made sure he was actually coming after me. At the next stop, I parked my bus and went over to this guy and asked why he was following me. He said, "My girlfriend is on this bus. We've argued, and I have to make up with her as she gets off."
The rules of space and time work a little bit differently for passengers at the 502. 57,000 people take this bus every day, and today I will be one of them. Since the 500T service launched, no matter what time of day it is packed with little breathing space and sweating passengers. Mehmet, who has taken the 500T for almost 30 years, knows how precious a seat on board is.
They don't respect elders much compared to the past. Before, young people, when they saw us coming, they would stand up directly to give us a seat.
Each journey brings with it possibility from Europe to Asia over 3 hours. If it's crowded and if you can't find anywhere to sit, it can quickly become a trip you'd rather forget. But some people don't seem to mind, like Ahmet.
When I sit with my friends at school, I tell them I take 500T to come here. They ask me, "Bro, how could you even take that bus? Don't you guys get squashed on that bus?"
The 500T has, for 35 years, secured a special place in the city's heart.
And in animals doing stuff, we have evidence that a man really is a dog's best friend. Now, somewhere in New Zealand, a human under pressure from his four-legged overlord created a borrowing library of suitable sticks for the game of fetch. As you can see, it's a box full of perfectly cut pieces of wood, ready to be thrown and brought back ad nauseum. From the Newsfeed team, reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Do subscribe to that channel and do follow me on Twitter. Follow, subscribe and add, and I will see you again tomorrow.